While American naval strategy revolved around massive aircraft carrier battle groups projecting power across every ocean on Earth, the Soviet Union chose an entirely different path to the sea, one built not around dominating the surface, but around lurking silently beneath it. For most of the Cold War, the true center of Soviet naval power wasn't visible at all. It was submerged, hidden in the depths of the Atlantic and Pacific, capable of striking without warning from thousands of kilometers away. This is the story of Soviet naval power, from the largest submarines ever built to the strangest, most singular case in modern naval history. A navy that spent decades and vast fortunes building ships specifically designed to sink someone else's aircraft carriers, while barely building any carriers of its own. Unlike the United States, which emerged from the Second World War with a battle-tested navy built around carrier aviation, global logistics, and decades of institutional experience in blue water operations, the Soviet Union inherited a navy that had been devastated by the war, starved of resources under Stalin's Army First priorities, and possessed almost no tradition of operating far from its own coastlines. Soviet naval planners understood a hard truth early on. Directly competing with American carrier groups, ship for ship, dollar for dollar, was a contest they could never realistically win. So Soviet naval doctrine took a fundamentally different approach, one rooted in asymmetry rather than direct confrontation. The goal wasn't to control the oceans the way the US Navy did, with carrier groups capable of projecting air power anywhere on the planet. Instead, the goal was denial, preventing the enemy from using the oceans freely, using submarines, long-range anti-ship missiles, and land-based naval aviation working in coordination to threaten American carrier groups from a distance, rather than confronting them ship to ship in open battle. That doctrine placed the submarine at the absolute center of Soviet naval strategy, and it's impossible to overstate just how much industrial effort the Soviet Union poured into underwater warfare across 4 decades. The Soviet Union launched its first nuclear-powered submarine, the November-class K-3, in 1958, just a few years behind the pioneering American USS Nautilus, and from that point forward, submarine construction became one of the largest and most secretive industrial programs in the entire Soviet economy. Soviet submarine engineering advanced with startling speed throughout the 1960s and 70s, though not without a heavy human cost that was carefully hidden from the public for decades. Early Soviet nuclear submarines suffered from serious, sometimes catastrophic reactor safety problems, born from the intense pressure to match American capabilities as quickly as possible. The November-class submarine K-19 became infamous after a 1961 reactor cooling system failure that forced crew members to manually repair the reactor while absorbing lethal doses of radiation. Several sailors died from radiation poisoning within weeks, and the incident was so severe it later inspired a Hollywood film decades afterward, though Soviet authorities kept the true scale of the disaster classified for most of the Cold War. And similar, though smaller-scale accidents would continue to plague the submarine fleet for years to come. Despite these early, deeply costly setbacks, Soviet submarine design continued pushing the boundaries of what seemed physically and industrially possible. The Alpha-class attack submarine, entering service in the 1970s, used a radical titanium hull construction, far lighter and significantly stronger than the steel hulls used by every Western submarine of the era. This allowed the Alpha class to dive deeper than any Western submarine could safely follow, and remarkably, to outrun many Western torpedoes of the period entirely, reaching underwater speeds that genuinely alarmed NATO naval planners when intelligence reports first confirmed its true performance. Titanium construction on this scale was so difficult, expensive, and technically demanding that only the Soviet Union ever mastered it for submarine hulls, requiring the development of entirely new welding techniques carried out inside specialized, climate-controlled shipyard halls, since titanium reacts badly with oxygen at the temperatures required for welding, a problem Soviet engineers solved years before anyone else even attempted it. But no Soviet submarine captured the world's imagination, or its anxieties, quite like the Typhoon class, first launched in 1980 and, to this day, the largest submarine ever built by any nation on Earth. Displacing more than twice the tonnage of the largest American submarines ever constructed, the Typhoon was less a vessel in the traditional sense and more a floating fortress, designed specifically to operate for extended patrols beneath Arctic ice, where it could surface by breaking directly through the frozen surface above if the need to launch its missiles ever arose.